We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And we're back on Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio America Network. I'm still your host, Mark Angelides, and we remain joined by Liberty Nation author of the longest running, most popular column on the page of libertynation.com, Sarah Cowgill. Now, earlier, Sarah, we were talking about the Midwest, how those voters are feeling, what's the importance of them in the presidential contest. But now I want to draw a bit on your own experience as an actual campaigner on presidential campaigns and kind of see what you think about how the campaigns for the two main candidates now are working compared to your own experience. If you give us a background on your own experience.
Well, you know, it's been a few years. The last presidential race I worked on was John McCain in 2000. But campaigning has completely changed in the last 2 decades. I mean, we didn't have the social media access that we have. People weren't doing podcasts. There was no Liberty Nation news sites where all of these people can have a platform. So you're still working with the big 3 networks and CNN, Fox News. Those were your go-to for what you wanted to see in 2000. The people haven't changed, however. They want to know how things are going. So when you have the Harris Waltz people on the move, Waltz will talk your ear off. I mean, he seems to be ready to go and has relatively a good grasp on what his policies have been and how to explain those. Now, yes, they are completely radical, but he has them, and he has a reason and an ability to say, here's how I'm going to do it, because he has done it as governor. Now, Kamala does not have that ability, and she freezes and she cannot answer questions. If there's a follow-up question, she can't answer it. So you're going to see her less and less in the limelight on any interview in front of people one-on-one or at a rally, unless she's tightly scripted and not allowed to engage with the press. And now, Trump, on the other hand, he's got surrogates as well. I mean, you know, everybody has surrogates because you can't be everywhere at once. His surrogates have a different approach, and that approach is to literally tell you how they're going to do it, which you have that information. And, you know, when you say, how can you promise all this stuff? And you say, well, I grew up middle class and we mowed our lawn. That's not going to cut it. The audience is well educated, and most people have decided who they want to stick with. But at the same time, there's independents out there that are going to go, oh, well, that makes sense to me, versus that didn't make any sense to me. And that's the 2 different campaigns you're seeing. Somebody laying out the plan with how you're going to do it, what I'm going to start with, and Harris Waltz just kind of not having a plan. They have goals, unreachable.
Goals are not a plan. Yeah.
No plan to get there. I mean, how are you going to get there? Well, you know, I don't know. We're Americans. We're just being American. I've never been so confused in my life. And really, she's had plenty of time to, you know, adjust and learn and create a map for people to follow. And there is no map. There's no GPS on Harris.
That's good. I might use that for the title for this segment. Now, I think it's interesting that you talk about the surrogates there. I think that's actually quite fascinating, because each side does have its surrogates, and the greatest surrogates that each side has are their VP candidates, right? They're there standing in for the presidential contender at rallies, speaking presumably with the president's voice, with the potential president's voice. Now, I think that you're absolutely right about there being a communications issue with Kamala Harris campaign, not just through Tim Walz. 2 interesting factors for you here. I'll just do them very, very quickly. If you do a Google trend search for the last 90 days for Vance versus Waltz, what you find is that in every state except for Minnesota, Vance's name is being searched more in Google, and it's just Minnesota, and it's an exact replica. I think it was of the Walter Mondale loss, where he just won Minnesota, and it's that compared to that. So nobody really knows who Vance is, and it seems the only people searching for his name are those people. Sorry, not Vance. Sorry, who Waltz is. The only people searching for his name are the very people who are paying his salary, which should be concerning in itself. And the other aspect is about communication. Is Kamala Harris came out of the first and possibly only presidential debate regarded as the victor. But then if you look at the polling, and I'm thinking Pennsylvania here, because that really is the keystone state in this election. If you look at the last, I think I'm getting this right. Please do forgive me if I'm off fractionally. If you look at the last 12 polls, national polls, polls that concern Pennsylvania, that were done from the 12th of September onwards, that was after the debate, she only wins in one out of the last 12, which is kind of crazy, right? Because she won that debate according to pretty much everybody. And yet
yes, I would say she won the debate, but
there were a lot of ties, by the way. I should
but
point
it
out
wasn't a real, it was more of a the other team just kind of didn't show up. And I do, everybody has a bad day. We've all we've all seen candidates do the dumbest things on a live debate stage. But I think Trump was still trying to debate Joe Biden, and here he had Harris. And I don't think he performed at all.
Right.
It was like he called it in, and she didn't. She was prepared and ready to go. She didn't answer any specific questions.
Of course.
She had two people helping her fact check, but she looked presidential, and he looked out of sorts. Okay. Well, like when Reagan debated Mondale, they were ready for each other, and that turned the whole election upside down. So that's where you're at with these two campaigns. It's I don't know. Anything can happen. Where's the October surprise?
Anybody's to win, anybody's to lose. Sarah Cowgill, thanks ever so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.